Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ariana E. In case you haven't seen my other video, I am doing a 3-part testimony series speaking on all the things that the Lord freed me from. I apologize for the background. I apologize if you hear any background noise. That's my son in the background. He's playing his game right now, so if you hear, that's what you're hearing. But as I was stating, the Lord has been placing it on me to share my testimony. So I've been doing this little 3-part series because I had so much to share. I posted part 1 yesterday, and I was discussing how the Lord freed me from persecution and lies. So if you haven't watched that video, and if you want to, you can go ahead and watch that one. This one is part 2. And I'm going to be speaking about how the Lord freed me from my addictions, okay? And so my addictions were nicotine, marijuana, and alcohol. So without further ado, I guess I'll go ahead and get started on discussing it. So for me, I started drinking when I was 15 years old. Prior to that, I had grown up in an environment where alcohol addiction was very pertinent. Very consistent part of my childhood was seeing a lot of, family members consume alcohol. I believe it's like something that's just been like passed down from generation to generation. I don't know. Generational curses, like whatever you want to call it. Okay, I just know I grew up in an environment where it was rampant and alive. And as I was growing up and seeing it, I was like, you know what? I'm never gonna drink. Like, never. I remember being in high school and I was in health class. And they were talking about making like a pamphlet in this class about, drugs and alcohol to try to keep the students like free from doing them. And I specifically chose alcohol because I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I want to talk about how I never want to do this. And it's so interesting how that, ended up playing out. Because, I got addicted. Anyway, I don't want to get off track here, so I'm going to stay on topic with the key points, okay? Because I don't want this video to be too long either. So yeah, around the time I was 15 years old is when I started drinking. It started off being like with my friends, and with my significant other specifically. And then after a while, I just kind of started liking it too much. As I stated in the last video, I grew up very antisocial, so I didn't want to be around people. And I found that when I started drinking, that it made me feel more sociable. It made me feel like I could be myself. It made me feel like I could just be more out there, and just speak. And I didn't realize how bad that was going to get for me. So I just continued to drink. So even it got to a point, like in the beginning, I'll say I was just doing it with friends and with a significant other. But then since I liked it so much, I started doing it alone. And yeah, I was 15. So like I said, I'm not putting anybody else's business out there, but I was, help me Lord. Just know I was drinking alone at times. And I would just get I would just get drunk out of my mind a lot. And my alcohol addiction got like really bad really fast. Okay, like I was super it got really bad. Like people saw me behave and act in a way that I am not like proud of in any way, shape, or form. But the Lord has freed me from shame and guilt, and from all the things that happened in the past. So I'm not like carrying anything from that, but I'll just say my behavior and the way I was acting, it just wasn't good. Okay. So fast forward all these years and all this time goes by, and I'm still partaking in drinking. And at this point, I had become like a full alcoholic by the time I was 18. All right, so started at 15, now we're 18, and I'm still drinking. Around the time that I turned 18, I started getting into smoking. Okay, I had cousins who liked to smoke, and naturally, at some point, I just got curious. And I was like, you know what? I want to try that. I don't know why. So I started smoking. And like I said, again, I wasn't doing it alone. And to be honest, when I was 18, the marijuana didn't really turn into an addiction. It was just something I did with people. Okay. Fast forward some time from 18, I believe around the time I turned 19 or 20. Okay. That's when, my living situation kind of like hit the fan. And my family and I ended up moving from California to Washington. And because of the move, and not because of the move, I'll say that because I was already on my way to Splitsville with my significant other around that point in time. Not putting anybody else's business out there. Oh my gosh. Like, I'm honestly saying because I was not myself, and because of the alcohol, and because of the fact that I was struggling with things I didn't know I was struggling with, I was not my best self. Okay? So to be honest with you, I probably should not have been in a relationship at that time. There's a lot of things I should not have been doing at the time, but I was young, and I don't want to say young and dumb, but I mean, is what it is. So fast forward, the move happens, right? The breakup happens. And that just sends me even further into a downward spiral. Okay, because now I'm struggling mentally. Now I have these two addictions, marijuana and alcohol, at this point in time. And this is by the time I'm 19, okay, going on 20. So I have these two addictions, and I'll try to include some photos and videos. I don't know like how comfortable I feel with doing all that, but I'm telling my story. I don't know why I'm saying I'm not comfortable. Please forgive me. I'm gonna include some photos and some videos so you can see like this is all genuine, and this is really who I was. I was not the greatest. But anyway, after the move, like I said, I went into a downward spiral after the breakup, after the move, and I just went even further into addiction. Okay, like even further into the alcohol. Like, let's say if I was drinking every other day, I would then be drinking like every chance I got. Okay, every chance I got, because it's not like I had the biggest pockets, right? So whenever I got the chance to drink, I was drinking, which was very often. Okay? Not proud. Again, I'm just sharing my testimony. Okay, let's just keep all that in mind. So where was I? See, I keep getting off topic. Give me a second. So around this time, I went deeper into my alcoholism, and this is also around the time that I went like full-fledged into marijuana addiction. I was a part of the wake and bake. I was smoking from early in the morning to late at night. Anytime my high would start going down, I would just start smoking again. Mixing that also with the alcohol addiction, because I was still actively drinking all the time. I would start drinking at night and just be smoking and getting high throughout the day. And that's how I was kind of like coping and getting along with everything that was going on in life. And I'll say, in every sense of the word, I was a functioning addict. Okay, so I wasn't like just laying off somewhere, something like that. I would be doing my tasks, anything I was doing throughout that period of time, I was getting it done, and then I was still smoking and drinking. So still fully, but just functioning, and I wasn't really living. I was just getting through life, getting high and getting drunk. Okay, so fast forward, more time goes by. This is around the time I get pregnant. This is what I was speaking about in my other video, I had started getting more into the Lord, okay? Because I was just so curious about God. I grew up going to church as a child, but I never had a relationship with God, right? But I knew about God, and I called myself a Christian, and I called myself a believer, as many of us do. But I did not have a real relationship with God. And I started to get curious because I was seeing so many videos online about people and they're talking about God. I'm like, I want to know more about who God is. You know what I'm saying? And that was the Lord. I know that was the Lord pulling me at that time. Like now I know that was the Lord just like trying to pull me deeper into him. Because God is so good, right? So, I started getting more curious about the Lord. And around this time, I also I got pregnant, okay? When I found out I was pregnant, I stopped drinking and I stopped smoking, okay? I did not carry on smoking and drinking during my pregnancy. I did stop. But then, like I said, I don't know if I said this in my other video or not, but after I had my baby, I did stay sober because I was breastfeeding. And then after that, I went right back to drinking and smoking. But it wasn't like all at once, and I'm not proud of this. And it wasn't heavy alcohol. And this is how like the enemy gets you and how I tricked myself into thinking everything was fine. Okay, because I was drinking, but only, as I was saying, I was drinking, but only at night after my kid went to bed. And it wasn't alcohol, it was wine. So I'm not an alcoholic. I'm just having a glass of wine after my kid goes to bed, right? I'm just having that mommy me time. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a glass of wine, but I was drinking wine every single night after my kid went to bed and convincing myself that wasn't an addiction, but I wasn't going a single night without it. So you can let that sink in. Like, that's addiction. If you can't go without it, you're addicted to it. That's just a surefire way to know if you are addicted to something or not. If you cannot go without it, you are addicted to it. And that's whether we want to believe it or not. It is what it is, right? Truth is hard to face sometimes. So there was that. And I hadn't started smoking weed again just yet, but then I started going through, like, I just started having more issues, right? And then I was just struggling mentally. And it was like, raising a child is already difficult. And not to mention the fact that I am a single parent, meaning I do everything and I raise my child all on my own. So I was struggling with that, being a single mom, not having any help. So then that pushed me back into my marijuana addiction. But like I stated, it wasn't like before. It was, and this is how the enemy gets you and how I was tricking myself into believing I wasn't being an addict. But it was, only at this specific time of the day. Sorry, my video is glitching. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. I don't know why my phone was acting up, but hopefully that last part recorded. What I was saying is I was smoking, but it was only at specific time points of the day. So like I said, I was taking care of my kid, but then I'll be like, okay, well, at this point in time, I can smoke. And then after my kid went to bed, I was smoking. And like I said, again, not realizing that this is me being addicted to it because I'm not being able to go without it, right? So I'm just falling back into the addiction that like I said, I tried to on my own. That wasn't the Lord freeing me from it. That was me stopping. And that's why I ended up inevitably going back to it, okay? I forgot to mention, so prior to me getting back into marijuana, I also started my nicotine addiction during this time after having my child. Like I said, that period when I started drinking again, I also started smoking the vape. Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm so not proud of this, so please, forgive me. But, it was the case. It's what happened, all right? So I started vaping, all right? And the vape addiction for me was the worst due to the fact that the marijuana, I tried to keep it at a bare minimum because, I still needed to be able to take care of my child. And I couldn't really do that while high. So I would always wait until after my son was asleep, or, are you okay? I would always wait until after my son was asleep, or, whatever the case may have been, just like with the drinking. But with the nicotine, okay, that's not something that makes you like visibly or impaired in any way, right? It didn't give me a high. It didn't make me drunk. And so this addiction, it made me feel like the stress that I was going through was like getting helped in a way with this. And since it didn't give me that impairment, for lack of a better word, I just went ham. Like, I was just vaping consistently. Never around my child. I will say this. I never smoked around my child. All right? Putting that out there, because he never inhaled any of that. I was so like, but all right, that's neither here nor there. Just know I was doing that. Okay? And I'm not proud of it. So yeah, those are the 3 addictions that I got to, and now you know the timeline. All right? So how did the Lord free me from my addictions? That's what we're here to talk about today. I just had to give you the timeline and discuss what I was addicted to. So there was, like I said, no, I didn't say that. I got back into praying and reading the word. I would watch Amen podcast on YouTube. I highly recommend, if you're a follower of Christ, even if you're not, because I love their content and I still watch some of their videos to this day. But I got into watching them, and I was just like really inspired to get to know God the way that they knew God. I was like, wow, they seem to truly have a relationship with him. I want some of that. I had also watched this YouTube channel. His name is David Diga Hernandez. I apologize if I mispronounced his name, but I was watching him too, and a few other people. Bible Talk too. I was watching his channel. Anyway, I started watching more content about the Lord, and then I started wanting to know him the way that everybody else was describing him as, because I'm like, wow, these people know the Lord, and I just felt so far from him. I am going to talk about the mental disorder that the Lord freed me from, but that's not for this video. That's for the next video. Okay, so this one is specifically just focusing on my addictions. I'm trying to keep these videos separate so that I can get everything out. So then I just decided to start praying. I remember there was a specific video I watched about, this was David Diga Hernandez. I'm just going to start calling him David, okay? I was watching this video that David had posted, and he was talking about being freed from bondage. And I remember I was just sitting in my bed, and he just started praying, and I closed my eyes, and I felt the presence of God for the first time, like in a very, very long time. I hadn't felt the presence of God prior until like there was a church I had went to when I was a kid. But anyway, at this point in time, I hadn't felt God's presence in such a long time. So I'm listening to him pray, and he's like putting his hand up to the camera, and he's actually like going deep into prayer. And I'm just sitting there and I'm watching the video, and I'm like eyes closed, and I'm listening to what he's saying, and I'm starting to feel the presence of God. And as he's going in, he starts describing bondage. And I hadn't really known anything about this topic. And then he described the vape. Okay, he specifically started talking about the vape. And I had convinced myself that vaping, there was nothing wrong with that. I wasn't addicted to it. And he said, no, that's an addiction. And that really struck me, because like I said, I didn't believe I had an addiction. And now I understand why they say the first part to getting over your addiction is to admit that you have it. Because I didn't think I was addicted. I truly didn't. I thought I was just normally living life. Hey, like I did it to get by. You know what I'm saying? And so that like opened my eyes, and I was still doing it, but like I started to feel different, which I came to know I was feeling conviction, okay? I started feeling conviction about, so like when I was doing it. So every time I started hitting the vape, I started feeling like I was betraying God. I was like, this doesn't feel good anymore. Suddenly, vaping didn't make me feel good anymore. When I would drink, I started feeling like I was betraying God. I'm like, suddenly this nighttime drink thing that I was doing doesn't feel good anymore. Smoking weed, I'm like, and I had like a pen or whatever. So I started smoking, and now I'm like, okay, this doesn't feel good anymore. Every time I turn around, I just felt like I was betraying the Lord. Fast forward past this time, this was up into about almost 5 months ago. That's how recent all of this is for me, but the Lord works in mysterious ways, okay? I had I don't know if I should discuss that, but anyway, I was still smoking and drinking, but like I said, it wasn't as, in my opinion, it wasn't addiction, okay? So I was just doing it and I was having fun, and I started talking to somebody that I hadn't talked to since I was younger, okay? I'm not gonna put this out there. That's neither here nor there. But it was after this situation, I'll call it, that the Lord began to pull me even deeper, because he's like, it's like I literally heard the Lord telling me, like, why are you acting this way? Why are you behaving this way? Why are you behaving in ways that are lower than what I have called you to be? Okay? And it was like, I don't know. Like, I was literally not acting like myself. I was just being who I perceived that maybe this person wanted me to be. And I wasn't being me. And I did that a lot with everybody. I was always like that. I was never myself. I always just tried to make myself be who I thought people would want me to be. I was a people pleaser. And that's another thing the Lord had to free me. Anyway, after all of that happened, I could have went back to my low point, right? But I didn't, because the Lord pulled me. And this time when he pulled me, I let go. Okay? I just went like, I was like, you know what, Lord? Okay. Whatever it is that I need to do to get to that point where I can just be fully dependent on you and just have that relationship with you that I saw all these other YouTube channels talking about, like whatever I can do to get to that point, I just want to get to that point. And the Lord was like, I need to remove the scales from your eyes. The alabaster box needed to break. I needed to be broken free from the things that I thought I wanted, so that the Lord could reveal his plan in me. And then it started with, like I said, the persecution and the lies, the last video. And then it went to my addictions. I went into my kitchen, okay? And I sat my vape, my pen, and my bottle of wine all on the counter. And it's like I could audibly hear the Lord telling me, like, these are the 3 things that are holding you back. These are the 3 things that are keeping you in bondage. And I need you to let me remove them from you. And I need you to not go back to them. And I'm not going to say it was easy. It wasn't easy, all right? Again, as I stated with my last video, it was completely difficult. I was addicted to these things. But like I said, I wanted to get to know the Lord deeper. And I know it, no, I'm not even going to go there. I don't really care how it sounds. It's the truth, and it's actual, and it's factual. I'm not happy that I was, like that, of course, but I have to be honest and sharing my testimony. That's my goal here. So I was like, okay. The Lord just started removing it from me. It wasn't easy. I had did it all like cold turkey, to be honest with you. I quit the vape, and then the next day I stopped smoking the pen, and then the next day I stopped drinking. And, you know, I faced the withdrawals, as everyone does, but what made it easy for me to get past that point was I would go to the Lord and I would ask him, like when I was facing the temptation and I was saying when I was facing temptation and when I was facing going through the withdrawals, I would ask the Lord to remove the desire to do it. So I would ask him to remove the desire from me to smoke, and he would remove it. I asked him to remove the desire for me to drink, and he removed it. And every time I felt like I wanted to drink, and every time I felt like I wanted to smoke, and I was going through that temptation, I would pray and ask the Lord to remove the desire from me to do it, and he would remove it. I'm telling you, he removed it. And it was just so it was so amazing. Like I remember sitting there, right? I was just sitting on my bed and I was just like, Lord, I really, really, really want to smoke right now. I know you're trying to get me not to smoke, but I really, really, I want to. Like every fiber of my being wants to go smoke. Remove this desire from me. Hold on. I need to do it. And he took it away from me. And this was each and every last one. And I just started seeking God every day. So instead of turning to the nicotine or the alcohol or the weed, when I started going through whatever trials and tribulations or frustrations or stress, I would just turn to God. I'd get in the Word. I'd play some gospel music. By the way, I do have a playlist on my YouTube channel where I have all of the gospel music that I have listened to during this time of transition into my relationship deeper with the Lord. Also songs that I currently listen to today. So if you're interested or you want to get into some gospel music, I do have a playlist in my YouTube channel titled Heavenly Music. And it's really just a whole bunch of songs that can help you get through trials and tribulations, because they help me get through my trials and tribulations, and still do when I go through them. I just turn that playlist on. But yeah, that's how the Lord freed me from my addictions. You know, he really just drew me into him. And anytime I was faced with the temptation to go back to what the Lord freed me from, I would just ask him to remove the desire from me. And every day, like clockwork, the temptations would come back. Like clockwork, you know, the feelings would come back of me wanting to do it, but I would just go back to the Lord and just be like, Lord, remove it from me. He'd remove it. He made it so easy for me. Like, I'm telling you, because, and every time I think about how easy he made it for me, I think about that Bible verse where, you know, Jesus says, come to me all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. You know, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Okay. It's really just turning to the Lord and getting deeper with him. It's only because of our flesh and fear and what may come if we give it up, like all of those things, it's what holds us back, not the Lord. So yeah, that's how the Lord freed me from my addictions, being marijuana, nicotine, and alcohol. Those are the three top things that the Lord freed me from that I was addicted to. God is so good. Amen. I appreciate you if you stuck through. I don't know how long this video was going to end up being, but if you finished the video, thank you for watching. Also, like, I'm trying to make my videos more, I don't want to say appropriate or anything like that. I mean, like, just more official. Okay, I'm trying to make my videos more official. I'm working on my intro. I'm working on an outro. I'm working on trying to make better quality videos. So, you know, if you choose to stick around and watch more of my content, just know that I'm working on my channel actively and trying to just make it better in every sense of the word. I appreciate you for tuning in and listening. I'm going to ask the Lord for a Bible verse to share, and we're going to read a Bible verse, and that'll be the end of it. So thank you for watching. I hope that hearing my testimony and hearing my story may help you. If you don't have any addictions, then, you know, like I said, that's amazing. That's great. But if you are struggling with any addiction, whether it be nicotine, alcohol, marijuana. It could be a phone addiction. It could be a pornography addiction. It could be, there's so many different things, but they're all addictions. And I want you to know there's no shame and guilt in coming to the Lord. There's no shame and guilt from God. He removes that from you. That's all from the enemy. You don't have to feel shame and guilt for the addictions that you struggle with. And just know that the Lord can and will, if you allow him to, remove those from you and remove the burden from you from that and remove the shame and remove the guilt. And you don't have to stay stuck in your addictions. And just because you have those addictions, they don't make you who you are. You can come out of them and you can come out on top and overcome them with Jesus. Okay? Like, he did it for me. All right. And so I'm going to get my Bible and get into a Bible verse with all that being said. All right. I asked God to give me a Bible verse and we turned open to the book of Isaiah, specifically Isaiah chapter 32. We're going to do this one over here. I have a whole bunch highlighted, but we're going to do chapter 32 and we're going to do verses 3 through 8. Okay. So, then the eyes of those who see will no longer be closed, and the ears of those who hear will listen. The fearful heart will know and understand, and the stammering tongue will be fluent and clear. No longer will the fool be called noble, nor the scoundrel highly respected. For fools speak folly, their hearts are bent on evil. They practice ungodliness and spread error concerning the Lord. The hungry they leave empty, and from the thirsty they withhold water. Scoundrels use wicked methods. They make up evil schemes to destroy the poor with lies, even when the plea of the needy is just. But the noble make noble deeds. And I have it written in my Bible, nobility, noble. It means honesty, generosity, and courageous, okay? And by noble deeds, they stand, okay? So we got to ask the Lord to open our eyes and open our ears so that we can, grow closer to him. Because having a relationship with God is more above anything else. I mean, let me just be a testament to that. That's all I want to be. I don't care about glitz, glamour, all that stuff. The only thing that I care about is how the Lord views me and sharing his message, right? In hopes that it brings other people closer to God or to God in general. So with that being said, I hope you have a blessed day. I pray the Lord blesses you. I pray the Lord keeps you. I pray the Lord heals you from the things that you silently struggle with. And I pray the Lord bless you with all the things that you need. And I hope you receive from the Lord whatever prayer that you may be asking from him. Know that the Lord loves you very, very much. And if you're not a follower of Jesus Christ, know that the Lord is at your door knocking. And he can free you from the things that you struggle with that you don't tell anybody about. All right. That was it for this video. Thank you for watching. Shalom.